Let's configure MikroTik Disc Lite5 AC. In this video, configure MikroTik Disc Lite5 AC. I will go through quickly the technical specification of MikroTik Disc Lite5 AC. Then present to you the demonstration topology. So this will be just a simple topology, as the aim of this video is to highlight the configuration part of Disc Lite5 AC. And finally, we will verify our configuration by checking if our Disc Lite5 ACs are connected. So for technical specifications, so by its name, Disc Lite5, so of course the wireless operating frequency is in 5 GHz. Then it supports the following standards: 802.11a, N, and AC. And the wireless generation for this device is Wi-Fi 5. It has an antenna gain of 21 dBi and a transmit power of 25 dBn, from which, according to MikroTik website, you can have a throughput or effective throughput of 6 megabits per second. It has only one network interface or port, which can negotiate speeds of up to 1 gigabit per second. And it has 4 CPU core count and a 256 megabytes memory. So on the right is our MikroTik Disc Lite5 AC. It has a diameter of roughly 265 millimeter or around 10 inches. I don't have its exact weight, but should be light. And it has a router OS license level 3. But of course, you can choose to upgrade it if deemed necessary. But having a license level 3 should do the job in our point-to-point connection. On the left is QMP or Quick Mount Pro. When you buy Disc Lite5 AC, it does not come with this, but this mounting kit is useful for this device. So this will be our simple topology for our MikroTik Disc Lite5 AC tutorial. Here we have a MikroTik Cloud Hosted Router image that is not turned on yet. It will be addressed later once we configure it to 192.168.1.1/24. And the router identity will be MT1. Its Ether2 or port 2 will be connected to our physical RB Disc Lite5 AC. The same goes to this Disc Lite5 AC here that will act as our station. So this is connected or bridge to a different physical network adapter or port in my computer, which then connects to another real Disc Lite5 AC. And finally, we have another MikroTik Cloud Hosted Router appliance, which we will identify later as MT2. It will have an IP address of 192.168.1.2/24, and its Ether2 will be connected to our Disc Lite5 AC. I have another appliance here, just don't mind this one. It is bridged to one of my test VMs that has a Winbox utility installed, and it is used to manage our MikroTik devices. Alright, let's power on our MikroTik appliances as well as the physical disc lights as we will proceed with our configuration. Okay, so I've turned on the MikroTik CHR MT1 appliance. As you can see, it has no IP address, so this is resetted to no default configuration. This appliance has a long-term firmware version of 6.47.10. So let's go ahead and log in. So login is admin. It has no password, or the password will be blank. So we'll click connect. All right, we are logged in our first MikroTik CHR appliance. There's nothing much we will do in this MikroTik other than renaming the router identity or the system's identity and providing an IP address on our Ether2. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to System menu, Identity, and from here we will change the identity into MT1. Okay, so that is finished. Next is we will configure, for simplicity's sake, we will not create any bridge. We will just straight away configure the IP address for our Ether2 interface. So we'll go to IP, addresses, and click plus sign, and just select the Ether2 and type in the IP address that we want. So in this case, it will be 192.168.1.1/24. Click apply and click OK. So there you go. We have now our IP address for this particular MT1 router. Later on, once our disk light is set up, we will do a verification and we will try to ping the IP address of our disk light. So we should be able to reach the disk light on its IP. So remember, we will set the disk light IP for our AP portion, which is 192.168.1.21. Okay, so we've connected or powered on our RB disk light. So as you can see, the board is RB Disk G-5ACD, and it has a stable firmware version of 6.47.1. The same goes with our CHR routers. So this disk light is resetted to no default configuration, so that is why it has no IP address, and the identity is still in its default name, MikroTik. So the login will still be admin and there will be no password, and we will click connect to start our configuration. Okay, so we're now inside our Disc Lite5 AC. So let's determine first what we need to do in our configuration for our Disc Lite5 AC. So first we will change the system identity to AP. We will bridge the interface. So remember, there is only 1 gigabit network interface for this Lite5 AC. We will bridge it to our Wi-Fi interface. Of course, you can choose not to bridge the Ether interface to the wireless interface and act as in route mode, but for our demonstration for this tutorial, we will just bridge the physical Ethernet port to our wireless interface. Once we have the bridge interface, we will then add or configure an IP address for that bridge interface. So that will be 192.168.1.21/24. And finally, after those configuration, we will now go to the wireless menu and see how we can configure this RB Disk Lite5 AC as an access point. Okay, let's do the basic first. So let's change the system identity to AP or access point. Next, we will bridge our interfaces. which is our wireless interface, and our single Ethernet interface. So we will click plus sign to add a new bridge. We will just accept the default name. So click OK. So we do have a bridge interface, and next thing to do is to add member ports onto our bridge. So we will add first our wireless interface, which is WLAN 1. So click apply, click OK. So it's now added. Now we will add the Ether 1, which is our physical port, our single gigabit network interface to our bridge. So once we add this Ether 1, we may be temporarily be disconnected to our Winbox, and we'll just reconnect to continue configuring our access point. So I was disconnected for a moment and I reconnect back. So as you can see, our Ether 1 and WLAN 1 is added as a member of the bridge. So next we will configure the IP address. So let's click close and go to IP addresses and click the plus sign, and for our bridge interface we will add or configure this with an IP of 192.168.1.21/24. So take note, we must select the bridge 1 interface, and after this one click apply and click OK. So the router identity is settled, the bridge interface and adding the ports to the bridge is done, and we have configured the IP address. So now it's time to go to the wireless menu and start configuring our access point. Okay, so we have one Wi-Fi interface and it's faded out. So what we can do here is we'll click on this one and let's click the check sign or button to enable this wireless interface. So let's do that, and there you go, it's now enabled. Next we will double click to go inside to this WLAN 1 interface configuration. Okay, so we now have the tabs for configuration. We have general, wireless, and the other tabs. So here you can rename the interface itself. Okay, so we will not do that for this demonstration. Let's go to the wireless tab, which the bulk of our configuration will be on this particular tab. So here we are at the simple mode wireless tab configuration. Okay, so we could click this advanced mode and we will change the view into advanced view. But for that, we will just stay put for now for the simple mode. So we have the mode as station, and we have some options here. We have the band. So this wireless supports A, N, and AC wireless standards. We have some channel width options. Okay. We have some frequency for our 5 gigahertz operating wireless frequency. We have our Wi-Fi name or SSID. We have the frequency mode, which we have some choices. We can choose our country, and the installation could be any or indoor or outdoor. Okay, so for the mode, we have two options here. Since we want it to become an access point, we could choose the AP bridge or bridge. But if you take a look at the current router OS license by the command system license and print, you'll see that the level is router OS level 3. So that means we cannot run it as an AP bridge. We could only run it as a bridge, which is actually sufficient on what we wanted to do in this demonstration, since we only have a single point-to-point connection to another disk Lite. So we'll go ahead, select the bridge. Next is the band. So we can just select some bands here, but for our demonstration, okay, we will select the N/AC. So if it supports AC, then it will run AC. So for this channel width, we have some options here, and it's based upon your bandwidth requirement and the kind of interference that you have. So let's stay put on the default 20 megahertz channel width. Of course, the more or the higher the channel width, the bigger the throughput. But again, the interference for having a bigger channel will be there. So since it's a demonstration example only, we'll select the default. For the frequency, you have to run some wireless site survey on what particular frequency the neighboring APs is situated to. So you will select a non-BC frequency, so to speak. But before you select the frequency assignment, so you need to go in to your country first and select the appropriate country so that it will display the frequencies that are available for that specific country. So if you'll see, we have 5500 down to 5700. So now let me select the country, and for my case it's Philippines, and this time we now have other available frequencies. So let me select 5745 for my frequency. For the SSID or Wi-Fi name, so I will rename it as Inquirinity AP. I will just select the regulatory domain, frequency mode, and the installation will remain outdoor. Next, I want to run the MikroTik NV2 protocol or wireless protocol. So I'll go to advanced mode and go into the wireless protocol and select NV2, or you could select NV2 and stream 802.11 to have some support on other wireless protocols. But for this demonstration, let's select or try NV2. After selecting NV2, so we'll click on this one and find the NV2 tab. So from here, we could type in our pre-shared key. So we'll check security, and for pre-shared key, let's type in Inquirinity. Hopefully I get it correctly or spell it correctly. So that's what we need to do on NV2 for now. So we have some other settings here, but for us, let's just settle the pre-shared key. Let's go back to the wireless tab and let's review what we have done. So the mode is bridge, the band is NAC 5 GHz. We have stay put on channel with 20 MHz. We have selected 5745, but then again, like I said, please run some wireless site survey. Our Wi-Fi name is Inquirinity AP. Okay, for radio name, we could also put it here as AP. For wireless protocol is NV2. The country settings is Philippines, or you could select your own country of choice, and the installation remains outdoor. Okay, so nothing much. We will configure here as other settings are advanced and not covered by our demonstration for now. So let's click apply and click OK. Before we configure our second disk Lite, let's verify first connectivity between MT1 and our AP. So we could go to tools, ping, and ping the AP address, which is 192.168.1.29. and click start. And yes, we have a reply. So we verify and confirm that there is a connection between MT1 and our AP. Okay, we have powered on our second disk light and we will now ready to configure it. So we are now inside the disk light or the second disk light. So I'll go ahead and configure the basic settings just like our AP. So we go to system identity. So we name it as station. Click OK. Next, let's create a bridge interface. So let's go to bridge menu, click the plus sign and accept the default name. So next is go to ports tab. Let's add the ports that are members of our bridge. Let's add the WLAN one and add in the Ether one as well. So we'll be disconnected and let's just reconnect. Okay, so we are disconnected. Let's click reconnect. So let's close this one. Let's configure the IP this time. IP addresses. Click plus sign 192.168.1.22/24 and for the bridge interface. Let's click apply and click OK. Now our bridge interface is configured. Next, we will configure the wireless for our station Disc Lite5 AC. So we'll go to wireless menu and as the same, let's click on this one and enable and double click to go inside. Let's leave the default wireless name. Let's go to wireless tab instead and configure almost the same settings that we have on our AP. Let's match the band first. So 5 gigahertz and an AC. Channel width is 20 megahertz. So remember the 5745 will not be there unless we have selected our country. So let's select Philippines as our example. Then our frequency will be selected and it's 5745. The installation will be outdoor. For the SSID, we will match what we have typed as the Wi-Fi name for our AP. So that will be Inquirinity AP. So for this light, we will configure it as a client or a station in terms of MikroTik terminology. So we have some few station options here for our mode. We'll select the station bridge. Then we remember that we have chosen to run the NV2 protocol for our AP. So we will also match it on our station or our client. So let's go to advanced mode and choose the wireless protocol as NV2. So while we are here, let's edit the radio name to station. Let's now add the NV2 pre-shared key by going to the NV2 tab and let's check the security settings and hide the password. So for our password is Inquirinity. So let's click apply and let's go back to the wireless tab and let's review our settings. So for our mode is station bridge. The band is the same, 5 gigahertz NAC. Channel width is 20 megahertz. Frequency is 5745. SSID must match to our AP. The radio name will be different, of course. So this time it's station. And we are running on the wireless protocol NV2. The frequency mode remains regulatory domain. Our country is Philippines and we have also chosen the installation as outdoor. And we have added the NV2 pre-shared key here. And let's click OK and see if our wireless connection is running and connected to our access point. Now let's check if our wireless is connected. So the flag is RS, so it means a good sign, which is running. So R for running, S for slave, S being part of the bridge interface. So another thing to verify or to check is if we go to registration, it is registered here to the radio name AP, and the AP column is yes, so meaning to say this is really an access point, not only a radio name as AP. And you can check your signal. So this one is for example purposes only. You will have to aim for a better signal, of course. So next is you could go to tools and ping and see if you have IP connectivity to the other side. So remember, your IP address is 192.168.1.22. So if you want to ping the other side is 1.21. So let's click on the start and yes. So there is IP connectivity to our access point. This time let's try to check if we could reach the MT1 Cloud Hosted Router, which has an IP address of 192.168.1.1. Okay, so click start, and indeed, yes, it's connected. So now left our MT2 to be configured with an IP address so that we could have an end-to-end connectivity between MT1 router and MT2 CHR. Okay, we are now at our MT2. So to speed things up, the identity is already changed. And let's click connect to this one. So let's go ahead and see if there is already an IP address. Okay, so 192.168.1.2. And let's now test whether we have an end-to-end connectivity. So let's go to tools ping and type in 192.168.1.1. And there you have it. We are connected to our MT1. So in this video, configure MikroTik Disc Lite5 AC. So first we enumerate some technical specification of this device. I did discuss or provided an overview of the topology. Then we configured our MikroTik CHR appliance and our disc lights. Finally, we verify that there is an end-to-end connectivity between our routers, proving that our wireless point-to-point connection is working successfully.